everybody, to episode 121 of Disney with the Ducks. Tonight, you've got me, John Krull, and I'm joined by some of my friends, Jody B.
Hi, friends.
Lonnie G.
Hey, everybody.
And Mean Gene.
What up, y'all?
All right, what up indeed? And today, we're going to ask a question of everybody, but first, we want to ask you to go out and do us a favor. Please go out and give us a 5-star review. It helps other people find us. And then if you want to share our show with some of your friends who also love Disney, and then invite them over to our Facebook page, Disney with the Ducks. And, you know, everyone is welcome. We're going to have some good discussions in there, mostly about Disney, sometimes some little, like, you know, tangents off of Disney, but it's all semi-related.
Under Disney adjacent.
Yeah. So so
we had a really great prairie fire bean dip recipe from our page. So you never know. You never know what you're going to stumble upon.
Prairie fire bean. I need to go back and look for that.
Yeah, it sounds good.
I don't think you remember the page, Gene.
I'm probably not.
Gene, it's a podcast. It's called Disney with the Ducks. It's amazing. You should listen.
Is it about like Star Wars and Marvel and stuff like that?
I mean, it is. I mean, that's Disney, so yeah, it's about that.
Yeah. All right. So the question we're going to ask each other tonight to get to know each other a little better is, what is your favorite race distance to run? Gene, what about you? What's your favorite distance to run in a race?
100-yard dash. No, really. I don't know that I have a favorite because I don't like any of them, but probably 5K and 10K. 10K is probably a good middle of the road,
Okay. No, yeah, that's a fun distance. I like that too. Lonnie, what about you? What's your favorite race distance?
Good question, John. Easy answer for me, none, because I hate running.
All right. That metal wall you have at home, though, would tell a different story. But all right. Yeah. Jody, what about you? What's your favorite race distance?
Half marathon. I think it's long enough that it challenges you, but not so long that you have to train for 900 hours every single weekend. So I think it's a really good in the middle. Although I'm running a 10 miler next weekend, so I'm curious how that goes. I've never run a 10 miler before. I've done 10Ks and half marathons, but never a 10 miler. So we'll see.
And that's what I just ran at Springtime Surprise Weekend, and I loved that distance. Jody was the same way as you. I thought a half marathon was the best distance. It was my favorite because, like you said, it's enough, but not too much. And you still feel like a huge sense of accomplishment because not a whole lot of people have run a half marathon before. But after running Springtime Surprise, I think it might be the 10 miler because it's so fun. And you still get that, like, to me, like, getting to certain milestones is important. So going into double digits, like, that's perfect for me. So I don't know. I really had fun with it. I didn't get too tired or anything afterwards. And I really enjoyed it. And I would love to run more of that distance. So I think that's my favorite.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, all right. So we asked a running question because we're coming up on the start of marathon training. So we're here. Ta-da. Yeah. So the Dopey Challenge training starts on what day, Jody? July.
Technically, it starts on Tuesday, July 2nd.
Okay. So tonight, we're going to talk through what we're excited about, what we're nervous about, and how we think we're going to prepare for the upcoming race or races in Walt Disney World on Marathon Weekend that we're all going to be partaking in. So first, let's just talk about what races we're partaking in. So Jody, what races are you running?
I am Dopey Baby one more time, and I'm Wine and Dine before that. Luckily, the plans pretty much line up. There's a little bit of confusion at times, but for the most part, the training plans line up pretty carefully. So I'm not as worried about Wine and Dine as I am as much about making sure that I'm trained and ready for marathon weekend because Dopey is a lot.
It is a lot. And for any of our listeners who are listening to this one, like, well, I think I want to get into running. Jody, why don't you tell us what the Dopey Challenge is? Because I'm sure we have some folks who aren't into running, but are listening to us and are thinking about running their first Disney race.
Sure. So marathon weekend is always in January. It's typically is the second race of the Run Disney season, although now with Disneyland races, a little bit different. It's the only one that offers a full marathon at this point in time. And so they call it Marathon Weekend. There is a 5K, 10K, half marathon, and full marathon available. You can run some, none, all, whatever portions that you want. The 5K is on Thursday. The 10K is on Friday. The half marathon is on Saturday. And the Granddaddy, the marathon, is on Sunday. So if you run all 4 of those, it's called the Dopey Challenge. If you run like last year, I only ran the half and the full. That was called the Goofy Challenge. But again, you can run any combination or any races that you want.
And that's also, though, 4 mornings of waking up at before anybody else is even going to sleep.
Yes.
So,
only at Disney, Jody just said, I only ran the half marathon and the full marathon. And let me say this, back to back, right, on Saturday and Sunday. Anywhere else, just a marathon or a half is an achievement. But at Disney, for some reason, during marathon weekend, which is, like you said, Jody, the granddaddy of running events at Disney, it's the biggest, the most people, the most excitement, that you say, oh yeah, I only did the Goofy Challenge.
Yeah.
Besides, Disney got us. They got us.
Yeah.
They made they have a paradigm shift they have made in us that we just got, I got to do it all, or I only did this. Well done, Disney. Well done.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're good at, right? I mean, okay, so we know. And then Gene, what are you, or Lonnie, what are you running? Dopey.
Yeah. So, like I said, I do not like running at all. The only thing worse than running is training for a run. With that being said, I'm running Dopey, so I'll be Johnny Jones.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think most people who hate running run 48.6 miles in a weekend. That's normal. Yeah. So
yeah, the only reason the only reason I've ever run a Disney race, the only reason I'm in the Biargas Podcast Running Club, the only reason I'm on this show, the only reason I'm friends with you guys is because this joker twisted my arm, peer pressured me into running a first race first, and then a bunch of races that I couldn't run with him, and then finally talked me into Dopey, and then more than once. And so, but this guy hates to run. So
how about thank you? Can you just say thank you, Lonnie, for that? Instead of just saying what I did to you, how I forced you, man. Peer pressure. Man, I don't want to get canceled. I don't know why you make it like I'm just forcing you to do stuff you don't want to do.
Whoa.
Coercive control.
I think, we should probably hash this out in your guys' couples therapy counseling rather than on the show. So let's take that as an action for later. All right. So Gene, as of right now, what are your plans for Marathon Weekend?
To clap and cheer and watch the apps and the Facebooks and all that stuff and wish you guys well. That's my plans right now. It's unfortunate I won't make it. I mean, look, you guys know I'm having some FOMO about it, but I'm just not able to go this time. So, but hey, I might start the training and just to do it, just to be a friend, just one for the Gipper, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, send us encouraging messages.
So right now he's signed up for the Sleepy Challenge. That's what they call it. But we're going to see how long that lasts.
The Sleepy Challenge. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. And I'm going to be sleeping most of the days, but I am going to be awake early on Sunday morning to run the full marathon with you guys, hopefully. That's my goal.
That's probably the smartest thing.
Yeah. Honestly, I really do want to do Dopey. It's just too much time away from my kids. Yeah. And, so I don't really have much of a choice. So I'm just embracing the FOMO that I'm going to have for everybody. But I think at the same time, a marathon is probably about the max I could train for this year with 5 kids. And
who says that? That's really all I can train for is a marathon.
And that's the only time in my life I've ever said just in front of a marathon, mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I just ran a marathon. or I'm just training for the marathon. Like, no, that's kind of a big deal, right? But with Dopey, I mean, it sounds like it's so much fun. It's so early. That is so early to wake up. But yeah.
It is. And the thing about it is, it's such a commitment, not just the training, but the signing up for it. When was registration? You guys remember when was
April something?
Yeah, so you sign up so early.
Yeah.
You start training, like I said, in July, and so you never know. Like it's April, what I'm doing in January. I don't know. I think I'm going to sign up for this race, right? So it's so far ahead. And I know we jest about it all the time because nobody looks forward to the training, but man, the excitement as you get closer to it and start to build, right? Jody mentioned the first race, Wine and Dine, that's in November. It kind of, as we get closer to that first event, and usually when I get on and I start seeing people, running for that, and I'll have FOMO, but I know we can live vicariously through Jody B. Then we're gonna be like, yeah, we're up to bat. And then it's marathon weekend, and then you kind of just put the training behind you and just kind of buckle in to get going. So it's right now it's kind of like, I got to do this, but as we get closer to it, then it's like, yeah, I get to do this.
Yeah, and it's awesome to get to do it too, right? I mean, even the training I like because it gets me outside and gets me just away from life for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is for that day. But just that time away from everything where it's just me and my headphones, and even if I'm on a treadmill, at least like I can tune everything else out.
Yeah.
What'll be interesting this year, Lonnie, is Wine and Dine actually is not the start of the race season because Disneyland has that race in September.
The Halloween one.
They're kicking off September 5th through 8th, I think, is their race. So they actually have the very first race, and then it's Wine and Dine, then Marathon, and then the next Disneyland race. They're not doing it back-to-back weekends this year, which I think is brilliant. There's a couple weekends in between. So their next one is at the end of January, beginning of February, and then Princess, and then wrapping it up with Springtime Surprise. So they actually get to kick off the race season this year.
Forgot all about that. Good catch, Jody B. You're right. It's a new race, first time, right? That they're doing it.
And let's just talk about those themes real quick for the Disneyland, the Disneyland races at the end of January. Listen, I'm not going back to California until they get their act together. But come on, you guys, they threw out Groot on the 5K. That was just cruel and unusual punishment. I mean, that was not nice. Talk about some FOMO. And I'm not even like Marvel girl, and I even thought that was awesome.
Yeah, and then they teased us on the 10K with the Ahsoka 10K.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, for the Star Wars fans, and you guys know, we had a Star Wars race. Now it's a surprise. It's the Springtime Surprise. That was the Star Wars Dark Side, and then we had the Light Side, which was in January as well at Disneyland. So everybody's kind of said, hey, we really want those races back. But they just gave that Ahsoka out there. So now you're thinking, should I go for that? I don't know. It's just crazy. You're right. Disney got us.
Yeah, no, they do a great job with their themes of their races. And so the themes for Marathon Weekend this year, for anybody who doesn't know, is the 5K will be Pluto, the 10K is Chip and Dale, the half marathon is Donald and Daisy Duck, and then the marathon is Mickey and Minnie Mouse. So, and they look really cool and retro, and I'm a really big fan of them so far. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Me too. I love the designs this year.
Yeah. So Jody,
can't wait to see the medals. We'll start to get some releases soon. I guess we'll start to see. It'll start off with them showing us the Disneyland medals, right?
I would think.
September, and then Wine and Dine, and then we should see how the medals will look. So we know for the marathon, it's going to be Mickey and Minnie on it. We do know that. For the half, it's usually Donald and Daisy. So yeah, the medals will be cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the shirts and everything look like with the way they have the retro theme set up. I think it'll be really cool for race shirts and merch and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited. But Jody, one of the things you mentioned was other races that we have between now and then. So I'm interested, like, what else are you guys running between now and then that you have to work into your training plans? Jody, you have Wine and Dine coming up, right? You mentioned that.
Yeah. And for the first time in a long time, I So I've been injured pretty much since Coast to Coast in January of 2024. I've been coming back from injury and been in PT, and I've had some dry needling, which has been helpful but painful. So I'm kind of back at it, knock on wood. But so I normally have lots of races. I normally get a lot of races in my, every year. I've got a couple that I almost always do. I have nothing on my calendar other than this one 10 miler and wine and dine and dopey in January. I was going to try to sneak something in there. I maybe one in Philly, but my daughter's a senior this year, so I don't really want to be gone too much. So maybe not this year. So
okay. Well, Lonnie, what about you?
So, I'm in a precarious situation right now, right? So, in regards to some of the races, I don't have anything signed up for now. I wanted to get something in the books, at least a 10 miler, so that I could have a proof of time. Gene will tell us when the proof of time is for marathon weekend, because he is an expert, so he'll probably give us that shortly. But I need to find something, right, to keep myself motivated, some kind of race, so I can kind of get some distance, and we'll see. Stay tuned. I'm sure I'll sign up for something. I'm not going to like it, but I'm going to sign up for it. I'm going to run on a protest.
what about you, John? Do you have anything signed? I was wanting to go do your Detroit.
Yes.
That's the one I was hoping to do. But again, I got to be careful this year.
Next year. Do it next year.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, so that's the race I have between now and marathon is doing the Detroit Free Press International Half Marathon. So in Detroit, we have two. There's one that goes, so the full marathon goes from Detroit across the bridge into Canada, around Windsor, Ontario, and then there's a tunnel under the Detroit River that comes back into the US, and then you go around a bunch of the cool older neighborhoods of Detroit. It's one of my favorite races. I feel like it's super well organized, and it's amazing. But that's the race I have coming up is the international portion of that, where you go over the bridge around part of Ontario and then back through the tunnel into Detroit. And then I think it goes around like Belle Isle, which is a really cool island in the middle of the Detroit River. But there's a bunch of lizards doing it, which I'm really excited about. So
it's October, right?
Yeah, it's in October. I forget the date exactly,
cool,
but
man.
like
Middle.
Lonnie, it's awesome. It's such a cool experience going to another country, and then the tunnel is a mile long underwater.
Yeah.
So, that honestly, last time I did the international portion of it, I got a panic attack in the tunnel because I don't do well in tight spaces like that. And you go from, 30 degrees, 25 degrees, whatever it is in October, that early in the morning, running outside to down in this tunnel where it's like 80 and humid, and it's insane. And then the opposite when you come back out. So that part to me is difficult, but no, I'm really excited about Jody. I think you should.
I know. Does that mess with your watch? Do you lose your GPS in the tunnel?
I don't remember. I did it. I only did the international part once,
where we ran through a bus depot or something that was covered, and it completely messed with our GPS and our watches. Like we lost all of it, so we had no idea what our pace was, if we were on track or.
Oh no, because I still knew where I was and everything coming out of it, because I was on pace for a PR, and then that panic attack really didn't help those last 5 miles. So
I mean, that's a long time to be running underwater. So I understand that, man. I mean, it's kind of like you say, it's you see a light, it's different.
Yeah.
But there's the light at the end of the tunnel.
And that literally, and it's cool. They have merchandise that says like world's only underwater mile, and it's usually got like an old timey dive helmet with a dude running. It's really cool. I don't know. But yeah, so that's what I got coming up.
I know why I'm not running it this year. It's like a week and a half before Wine and Dine, because it's October 20th, and
Wine and Dine's right at the beginning of November.
We leave for Wine and Dine on the 31st, so I didn't want to run a half and then turn around and run. Now I remember. I mean, but I also am trying to be like somewhat of a good parent around, trying.
It's overrated.
As I go to Wine and Dine marathon weekend, so
right.
I'll get a great parent.
Leave the kids at home and go to Disney. All right. So what we're starting training here right now, basically.
Just real quick before we get any further, I want to make sure and let you guys know that July 1st is when proof of time needs to be submitted. If not, it says that you will be added to the last starting group corral. It doesn't use the word corral, but yeah. So, hey, go ahead, get after it. You got, 20, whatever, 21, 22 days, whatever, however many days are in June.
So they said you'll be added to the last corral if you don't.
That's what it says. Yep.
But by the time this comes out, it'll be after July 1st.
Yeah. I think it's if you.
You want me to read it?
Read it.
If proof of time is not provided by July 1st, 2024, or if the data provided is incomplete or cannot be verified, you will be placed in the last start group. No start group changes will be made after such date. And that is provided that you plan on finishing in less than 5 hours for the marathon or less than 2.5 for the half.
Right. So I think that's if you put on your form when you registered, you'd finish in 5 or less, and then you didn't submit a proof of time, then you get put in the last corral.
Okay.
If you said you're going to do it in 5 hours or less, and you do submit a proof of time before July 1st, then they'll put you in the right corral. That's the way I interpret it. I could be totally wrong by that.
Yeah, because usually it's kind of still random because there's so many people. I mean, that last corral will be rocking. Usually, I think they go by, there's some kind of algorithm. But if you ran, because one of the questions when you register is this your first Run Disney event, right? And all that kind of stuff. I think they kind of look at that and see how many Run Disney events this person probably been in, and then that might factor into it. I don't know. But man, that July is pretty quick.
Yeah, that really threw me this year because it's always been more of an October timeframe, and that July. First of all, who wants to run in July? Nobody. So that they lengthened the proof of time. It used to be a 2-hour, 15-minute half marathon. Now it's a 2-hour and 30-minute half marathon. So they gave us more time, but they gave us less time to get the proof of time in. So,
but now I don't know if I can find a half and then train for a half before the July.
Yeah, that's soon. Yeah. That's why finding a 10K or a 10 miler, because you can't submit a 10K for the marathon. It has to be a 10 miler or a half marathon. So anyway.
I need to look for a 10 miler.
Yeah. You're in a good location right now to find one. But anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So anybody else have any races? Gene, are you running anything? Are you going to run any races?
I don't have anything planned right now. Depending on where I am, there's a local 5K I might run on July 4th, a Firecracker 5K, but I don't know. I'm usually not home for the 4th. So.
Okay. So training is starting on July 2nd. And as it always does, if you're following the Jeff Galloway training plan, they're not going to ask you to go run 900 miles the very first week. So
second week, 900 miles?
Second week you have to run 900 miles, yeah, but not the first week. So if you're not familiar, you can go to the runDisney website and pull up a training plan. I like to print them because I like paper. I like Lonnie. Lonnie likes to print all of his emails.
Check it off.
So I like to print it off, and then I go one step farther, and then I translate everything in the training plan and I put it into an Excel spreadsheet with the dates and miles and what I have to do. If anyone would like my crazy Excel spreadsheet, I'm happy to share it with them. I've shared it with everybody in this group before. So if you want I like checking off the boxes. So I like to know, okay, this is what I need to do. This is how many miles, and this is, when I need to get it done. So it's again, you don't have to use this training plan. This is just the one on the Run Disney website, the Jeff Galloway plan. It's a 28-week plan, technically 29 weeks. He tells you to run the week after a marathon weekend, but we don't talk about that. So it's 28 weeks of running up until the event, and it does start on July 2nd. His plan typically states that you run a Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Once the challenge races training start getting a little more intense, there are also some Saturday, Sunday, some back-to-back. So you learn what it feels like to be on your feet 2 days in a row. What I love about this training plan is I don't think it's too much. The weekday runs are just 45 minutes. And what I tend to do is I walk my first mile as a warm-up mile. I run my 3 miles with my girlfriends, and then we walk and cool down afterwards. So that's about, 45 minutes of time. And then I always walk my dog too. So that's how I do my 45 minutes. What do you typically do, Lonnie, for your 45 minutes?
Yeah. So, I usually incorporate one of the Peloton runs for my 45 minutes. It's good for doing a warm up before you start running, maybe a 5-minute stretch. Do the 2 runs the first week, and then the first week is 3 miles on that Saturday. So, like you said, it's progressive. The good thing about the Galloway plan, which I like, is you'll go up. When you get good into the plan after the first month, you might have like one Saturday when it's 3 miles. Then you have a longer run, and it kind of builds up. It's 4 miles, and then back to 3, then 5 miles, and it kind of slowly brings you up, right? The key is just, even if you don't run them, just walk them, right? As long as the key is time on your feet, because what you don't want to do is just get off the gates blazing and have an injury, right? So, by the week 4 on that Saturday, we got 5.5 miles. Week 6, 7 miles, it goes down, up and down, giving you that time to have a kind of like a break before you start running a longer time. So I'm a fan of the Galloway plan. I've used it for basically every Disney race. And another thing is, if you miss a run or two, don't sweat it. Just pick up the next one. Stuff happen, life's happen. The thing about Dopey, and Gene mentioned it earlier, and with any marathon weekend races, it goes into Thanksgiving and holidays, and there are there are family obligations which come first, families first, and then so you have to just maybe alter the schedule every now and then so that you can keep up with those things, those valuable times, those life moments that are so important, right? So don't let your family suffer because you're out there running 20-some miles for Thanksgiving. Maybe you just move it around a little bit. So give yourself some grace. Make sure you don't hurt yourself. And another thing I'm big on is strength training, and incorporating strength training into these runs as well, because you don't want to just run. There's some good strength training and stretching for runner programs that you might want to incorporate. I do those a lot as well, Julie.
Yep. All right, Gene, how have you tackled, I know you're not currently not signed up to run Dopey at the moment.
But I've done it before.
You have done it before. So why don't you tell us about your experience? How have you trained, and what's worked best for you? What advice would you give?
My advice, similar to what Lonnie said, I have never run a Dopey where I was trained as well as I felt like I should be. And it's because, like Lonnie said, life happens. I've had, everybody in this group has had stuff happen. I've had, the first time I had the flu at the end, and it really derailed me for my training, but I finished fine. The second time, COVID and, some other things. I've had kidney stones. I've had, I had some kind of a pull in my calf that put me off for, I rested for a week or 2 weeks, and then I tried running again and I couldn't. And I ended up it derailed me for 6 weeks, but I did it. My best advice is have some friends you're running with, because they'll hold you accountable. And even if they don't say, you need to be running, you feel like, I don't want to let Lonnie or Jody or anybody else down that I'm running races with, Facebook groups are great. In-person groups are great. I've called Lonnie before and said, hey man, I got to get, I'm having a hard time today. And he'll, talk to me while I'm running, that really helps out. It helps the time go by. It helps, it just helps get you motivated. When I first started, I had a hard time with my motivation, and I'd already run Disney races, but my first Dopey. And Sarah said something at one point. She's one of the lizards. She's she's in a part of the flock too. She's been on the show. She said, just put one foot in front of the other, just time on feet, like Lonnie said. It's just so important. And it's also important to not, if this is your first time, my experience was when I was training, I would, traveling for work, I would go into running stores and talk to people about running and get advice, or buying some kind of new shoes or something, some Body Glide, something, and when you start talking to people and they find out what you're doing, real runners would tell me how stupid it was, how crazy it was to run the Dopey Challenge for my first marathon. And then I talked to people who've done it before, and like, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. You just do the training, you know? And I had that realization after, you know, at some point, stop talking to those people because they're naysayers. They've not done Dopey before. They might be trying to PR, you know, try to qualify for Boston. And there are a lot of runDisney people that do that. That's not what I was trying to do. I was trying to go out with my friend and run a race and have a good time. And that's exactly what happened. The training's tough. You got to set aside the time for it. The training to me is the worst part of it. The races, as hard as they are, they're not nearly as bad as having a, you know, on a Saturday afternoon, having to run 5 hours, or, you know, later on in the, you know, in the training where you got to, you know, walk a certain distance on one day and run a certain distance. And that's a lot of time. But it pays off because they're great races. And if you do the training, you'll finish. You know, there's people a lot less athletic. I'm not very athletic at all, but a lot less athletic and a lot, you know, not in good shape as I am that do this. They just do the training, you know, and I'm not in great shape either, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Jody B? I mean, you've run Dopey multiple times as well. What are some of the tips that you have?
I think encouragement from friends is so incredibly important. Listen, not every run is going to be great. Not every training run that you're going to want to do. And there are times that it's going to be hard and you're not going to want to do it. And that's the time where your friends can really pick you up. And you can say, I had a bad training run. Mm-hmm. And everyone's going to be like, man, that stinks. I've been there before. It happens. Next time will be better. And for me, I need that. I need a community who understands, who's not going to make me feel bad for having a bad training run. Someone who's going to say, I'm sorry, that stinks. Don't worry, it will be better next time. So I love our community. I love the encouragement. I love, and for me, the reward knowing I get to see all of my friends in January, that's worth it, because the friendships and the that have been built, and getting the hugs from everybody and seeing everybody on race day and the big group photos, that's why I like to lace up my sneakers and go out there and do the training runs. You know, we've heard before, time on the feet is important. I'd even say, like, if you have a work, you know, meeting, and if you can stand and sit there and work on your laptop standing for an hour or so instead of sitting at your desk, that helps. Just any time that you're on your feet, build that up before January, because it's a lot. It's a lot of time on your feet. It's standing in the corrals before the start time, and then it's walking in the parks. So, you know, practicing all that. Practice your fuel is my other big tip. I really had a lot of problems figuring out what fuel worked for me. I had some GI distress in some previous races, and I finally figured out what fueling brand worked. But that was a lot of trial and error, and that's what training's for. That's why you try these things during training, so you can see if it works or not, because you don't want to be out on the real day and figure out that fuel's not going to work for you and your body. So those are my pieces of advice. And get a good pair of sneakers, for goodness sake. Go to the running store, and if you've had yours for a while, go get a new pair. Yes, they're expensive, but
so worth it though.
You're going to kill yourself, and you're going to cause injuries if you don't get a good pair of shoes.
Yeah. Yep. And if you can I piggyback on that?
Please, yes.
Get two pair of shoes, right? Yeah. And the reason why is because you want to alternate, especially when you get into Dopey, you're going to have those back-to-back runs, and it's good if you have two different shoes. And usually they recommend about 350 to 400 miles. You swap them out depending on the runs that you put on them. So you think about, you have two, well, you got a lot of time on them, right? And then you got to break them in as well, right? So these are good times to actually break in. There are a couple of good apps that actually allow you to track your shoe distance in each shoe. I would say use that. I write on my shoes if I get two the same kind. On the side, inside, I put like a little 1 on one of them, or a check mark, and I know that's the first shoe or the second shoe, and I just alternate back and forth so I know which shoe to use. So that's some of the things that you can do to really kind of get yourself and stay healthy. Because running on some soles that are kind of decompressed or flat or old, it'll get you sometimes, right? It will. So you know that you need this extra cushion. At least I do, just knowing my gait and everything. I need that extra cushion, and I need to keep track of those shoes in the distance zone. So yeah.
And I don't know if this math is correct, because I've added some different things in here because of Wine and Dine also, but I have in my file that it's about 542 miles is what you cover from training plan to the finale of Dopey, if you do all the miles prescribed by Galloway. Now, again, I could be wrong on that, but that's kind of my Excel math. There is what I have on my sheet. So that's more than one pair of shoes. If you buy a pair of shoes to start off your Dopey training, you should not be running in those on Marathon Sunday if you're following that plan.
If you got two pairs though, that you're probably hitting. For me, there's a sweet spot when it takes some miles for me to get to they really feel really good. And that's, unfortunately, it's not long until they're probably don't feel good. But
so, I like to think is what to me is about, the break-in period for me is 50 to 75 miles. So if you think about it, you're putting those miles in, you should get there if you alternate your shoes, at about 200, 250 miles on each one. You got an extra 100 miles still left. You're in good shape. I think one of the things you want to look at as you're going to a marathon weekend, practical steps as well. You should be looking at it. If you don't, you should have your room. Right. Start thinking about that. We like personally to stay on, in the bubble. So on property for marathon weekend. I mean, what we'll do as we get to closer to marathon weekend, but it's not even that, right? Everybody remembers the release the Quacking shows. We're going to bring those back. We're going to do them once a month, and we'll have special guests kind of talk about their experiences and how training is going. Hopefully that'll help motivate everybody. And we'll start to give more practical things that you can do. Like I said, you want to have your room now. If not, there's still some, I'll just check before the show. There's a lot of availability at some of the value resorts, because we like Pop. Pop is one of our favorite resorts.
Yeah, Lonnie, neither you nor I are staying at Pop this time, so...
Yeah, I know it's the craziest thing. We love it, but we're not staying there. Do as we say and not as we do.
Points. Lonnie and I both have points to use. So
yeah, we got points to use, so we got to use those points. DVC. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what else, Jody?
And then the further we get into this, the more fun we get to start talking about costumes. I know Lonnie doesn't costume, or what shirts we're wearing, what race. Lonnie will wear a shirt. We talk about food. Food is a huge discussion point. We got
to make our reservations, right? That's coming. That's going to be coming up. What? November sometime. November.
Yep. And then those of us with annual passes are still required to make park reservations. So silly. So we have to figure out what park, and it's still also nice to know what park we plan on going to, which day, what time we're going to get to the expo. So we'll start sprinkling some of those conversations in there too, because that's the fun part. I mean, it's running the races and seeing the characters and all that. That's awesome, but the time together, and that's a blast. I mean, and as a little parting gift, I will have little personalized hand sanitizers for everyone to use before they eat any popcorn and after they get off of any ride.
Yes, please. We need that. Start thinking about travel down as well, right? It's crazy. It's a crazy time of year to travel. And, I know you guys heard it on the show before. Gene and I was stuck in the Dallas airport for 8-9 hours. We ended up
12 days, something. I don't know.
I mean, right? It's so long. We ended up flying to Tampa, then driving.
We ate 2 meals at the Century Club. I know that.
Oh yeah.
Noah built his ark, and they were still, they were still stuck in Dallas.
Oh yeah. I mean, y'all was having fun. We were stuck in Dallas. Gene bag was already in Orlando on vacation. It was just a lot. We flew into Tampa. Gene's like, "Where's my bag?" It's like, "Your bag's in Orlando." It's like, yeah, okay. So it's just, yeah, it was a lot. But we'll start talking about those as well and some of the tips for that.
Yeah, our flights are already booked. We found a steal of a deal, so we already booked our flights because they were ridiculously cheap. So
Hey.
yeah, we're booked already. But anyway, well, I think that's Gene. Do you have anything you want to add? You've got a lot of experience with all the Run Disney races. Anything you want?
No, I mean, I think we've covered. We got a lot of more shows. We'll talk about this stuff, but I think for just kind of an overview, just to start, I think we covered a bit.
Good. I mean, I know it seems crazy. You're starting in July for a January race to train, but I'm telling you, do the training. Don't show up in January and be like, oh, yep, where are my gym shoes? That's going to hurt. It's going to hurt bad. So
it's going to hurt.
So even if, I know you're going to think like, oh, 45 minutes here, 45 minutes there. Is that really going to make a difference? Yes. Yes, it will.
It does.
Yeah.
So do the training. Mm-hmm. And then have all the fun. Then it's the victory lap.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And if you're just getting you excited and you're like, you know what, I think I want to do it, but it's too late. Know as we get close to the marathon weekend over the next couple of months, you may see additional slots opening up. So you have to be quick on it when you do it. There are several pages, several Facebook groups that are out there that are, that release the information like, oh, hey, this just opened up. This just opened up. You got to try to hurry up and get on it. So don't lose hope if you haven't gotten a bib for running the races. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, there are still bibs available on some of the charity groups, and some really good charitable organizations could benefit from you signing up for those races. So there's other ways to get in as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So here we go. Training starts for January 2025.
I hate it already.
You love it. All right. Enough seriousness. Let's talk about some ways to crack everybody up so they can, on their training run, when they're listening to this, they can have a big smile and people will be running by them and they're going to be thinking, why are those people cracking up laughing? What show are they listening to that is so ridiculously funny? So Lonnie G, can you quack the people up?
Yeah, you know what? I'll try my best. Did you guys hear about the happy-go-lucky fish who ran a marathon?
No.
Mm-hmm. He did it just for the hell of it.
That's a good one. All right. What did the sock say to the foot?
I don't know.
Shoe. All right, Mean Gene.
Hey, so I have a friend. He's a lawyer, and he won a marathon, but he had messed up his knee during he had an ACL injury. But do you know how he's able to do that?
No.
The power of a torn knee.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, friends, I hope you are as excited as we are for the start of all the training. I know it's going to be a long haul, but we're here for you. We're going to have some fun and we're excited. So, Mean Gene, take it away.
You've just listened to an exhilarating episode of Disney with the Ducks filled with tips and excitement for Disney Marathon Weekend. If you're experiencing increased heart rate, sudden bursts of motivation, or an uncontrollable urge to sign up for every race, you're not alone. Side effects may include excessive carbo loading, spontaneous jogs around the neighborhood, and the purchase of unnecessarily expensive running gear adorned with Disney characters. If these symptoms persist, consult with your travel agent before making any sudden bookings. Remember, enthusiasm is contagious, and you might find yourself encouraging friends and family to join the fun. Lace up responsibly, and we'll see you at the finish line.
Nice. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, friends. Happy running.